I'm sitting here under the live oak trees at my grandparents' old home place on the farm, and 5 generations of Saulniers have worked on this farm. So I was asked by Charles Stagg to give a foreman presentation to a group of 5th and 6th grade young men in his class. So I kind of wrote this up and presented it to him, kind of from the beginning until retirement. So I've had this farm for about 40 years, and I've loved every moment of it. And that's the 40 years that I farmed it. Now I worked on the farm all during the days I was growing up in grade school and high school. And I looked up in Webster's, and Webster's definition of a farmer is one who cultivates the land, takes care of the land. So if you go back to the book of Genesis, the Lord created Adam and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and care for it. A beautiful place, and just magnificent trees and grass and all of it. But Adam didn't keep the Lord's command, and when he sinned, the Lord put him out of the Garden of Eden. And he said that he would be cursed, the land would be cursed, and that briars and grass, and he would have to toil to make the land produce. So it went from a time of easy taking care of land to what it is today. It's a rough profession to go against the weather, the grass, the diseases, and just looking back, it looks like I consider farming for probably one of the oldest professions in the world. So that being said, I grew up on the farm, learned to drive a truck and tractor at a very early age. My grandfather, my dad, and I, and my son Kyle all farmed the same land. And then I had grandsons that worked on it also, great grandsons. Farming is a very hard work. It was cursed. The ground was cursed by the Lord. It was hard work. You got to fight for every ounce of production you get out of it. But it's very rewarding to plant and then to watch it mature to a crop that you can harvest and sell and consume and eat. I was raised right here in Kinder. Went to this church all my life. When I was 12 years old, I went to Camp Pearl, and that summer I accepted Christ as my Savior, and my life has changed ever since. I've tried to live and be a pleasing servant of His. I went to Kinder to high school and was active in FFA. I showed livestock all through high school. I was on the parliamentary law team and other law teams, other teams, and other ag activities. I graduated from Kinder High in 1960. I attended USL in Lafayette, Louisiana, majoring in vocational agriculture. That would be the teaching of VOAG in high school. In my senior year, I had to practice teach VOAG at a high school in Carencro, Louisiana. I've got a class of 9th-grade boys to do my practice teaching in, and it was not a very good time. It wasn't a good experience. So I decided then that teaching was not for me. In 1965, I got an assistantship to go to LSU and wanted to be a county agent. Decided to go in that route. But there were no help in extension work at that time, so they offered me a scholarship in ag economics, supply and demand graphs and charts and all that stuff. Very boring, very boring. After a year and a half in grad school, I got the opportunity to fly to New York City and be interviewed with Allied Chemical Corporation, who was about to build a large fertilizer and chemical plant on the river between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. So I took the job. I would be selling fertilizer that they produced and chemicals to the farmers in South Louisiana. I took the job, I got a company car, an expense account, and I was in hog heaven. We bought a home in Baton Rouge and had our oldest son there. In 1969, though, I got a call from home. My dad was having some health problems and thought it was maybe time that I needed to head back to the farm. So we sold our home in Baton Rouge and moved to Kinder, to a rent house. My wife started teaching school, and I found out very soon that farming is a hazardous occupation and that the good Lord has total control over all that happens. Nature, the rain, the sun, the heat, the cold, all the things that you depend on to make a crop grow. You come to know and depend on the good Lord for everything. You do a lot of praying being a farmer. You pray for protection from the elements, from snakes, from farm accidents. A lot of things can happen on a farm, and I've had a lot of close calls. One time I was in a rice bin about 20 feet up, spreading soybeans so that they would dry better. There was a vertical auger turning in the bin, and I should have turned it off before I got in the bin, but I didn't. I had a t-shirt on, and as I worked with a shovel, leveling the beans, I backed up into the turning auger. It caught my t-shirt and twisted it and wrapped it around and around the auger, tighter and tighter, until I could hardly breathe. I made peace with the Lord at that time because I thought that was it. I hollered as loud as I could, and I had a young man working down below, and he finally heard me hollering and turned the power off of the auger. That was a close call, and I sure thank the good Lord for watching over me. Another time I was cutting rice in my combine when a thunderstorm came up and started to rain and lightning. So I stopped the combine and pulled over to this edge. I was listening to the radio for weather and eating a bag of potato chips. The next thing I saw was a big, bright light ball around the cab and a loud clap of thunder. A big lightning blast had hit the cab of the combine. All the instruments in the cab were burnt. Bells and alarms were going off, and I thought any minute the combine would catch on fire. I stepped out to see, but there was no fire. I'll tell you, from that experience, I don't want to be hit by lightning again. Once again, the Lord was watching over me, and once again, I thanked Him. I could go on and on about things that have happened on the farm, but I just want you to know that the Lord blessed me and watched over me, and I just thank the Lord for the opportunity to farm on this land with my family. I loved every moment of the time out there. I particularly loved the late evenings when the sun was setting in the western sky. It was beautiful, everything was quiet, and I felt really, really close to my Lord. After having 40 years of farming, I retired in 2009. But I still go out to the farm every day, check on the irrigation wells, and until about 6 months ago, I had a herd of cattle. But I sold those, and now I just check on the wells and the equipment on the farm. I rented our farm to a young man from Oberlin, Trampas Abear. We have right now 600 acres of crawfish, about 300 acres of rice, and there's a little permanent pasture, but no cows on it at this time. If you go to the crawfish shack in Oberlin, you'll probably be eating some of our crawfish. My whole family worked on the farm. Jenny, Kyle, Christian, Kay, they all cherished the memories of being brought up on that farm, helping me harvest rice and soybeans, helping us work the cows, and just the grandkids. Landry loved to ride the combine with me and would spend the day and eventually fall asleep. He was a young fella, fall asleep and sleep on the seat. So thinking back, I've got to know a lot of farmers in my time, and I've got to say that I don't know a farmer that doesn't know the good Lord, that knows his creation was created by him, and that they depend on him and look to him for the blessings that they so need to farm. In closing, I'll say that, I just again say the Lord is in control of everything here on earth, and we just have to look to him and not fear what the future will hold, because he's in control of it all. And he will never forsake or leave us, those who believe in him. Now, I brought a few brochures to show the boys what equipment looks like today. And here's a tractor, four-wheel drive tractor. My four-wheel drive tractor cost $60,000, the first one I bought. This particular one cost about $600,000. So that shows you what equipment is done in the time that I've been farming. And this is a picture of a combine, which is so much complicated than the one I drove. It has a TV screen in it that monitors everything from moisture to the yield you're making. It tells you if you have trouble. But a combine like this, where our combines were, the biggest combine I had was a 25-foot cutter bore. These combines have 45-foot cutter bores. But with the combine and the cutter bore up front, you're looking at about $800,000. So you can see it's very hard to get into farming, very costly, very many things can happen while you farm. But I've enjoyed farming every minute of it and wouldn't change anything that I've gone through. I thank my family for sticking with me through these years, thick and the thins. Thank the good Lord for watching over us all. And that's about it. Any questions? And that'll be it.